Welcome to the Rehumanization Station. I'm your collaborator, Christopher Jones, aka Dr. X, and this podcast is an extension to my Flippin' and Vibin' brand where vibers seek to transform narratives in society, education, sport, and today, the arts. Today is our collaborative practice series where we have an artistic viber named Anna Laimanee with us today. Anna, how are you doing?
Good. I'm glad I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Where are you coming from?
I just came from the Danube. I went swimming because I love that.
Okay. How long you been swimming?
Half an hour.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. All right, now I know we went through this before, but it's Laimanee.
Yeah.
Laimanee, okay. So
Like, that's the Thai pronunciation, yeah.
All right, so speaking of Thai, so Anna Laimanee was born in Korneuburg, situated in Lower Austria, to an Austrian mother and a Thai father. She grew up in Vienna and studied performing arts at the University of Music and Performing Arts Graz, from which she graduated with honors in 2018. Since then, she has been working as an actor for the Viennese theater in der Josefstadt.
Theater in der Josefstadt.
Theater in Josefstadt. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying. I've been telling my audience I've been trying to pick up my German, but I'm trying. I can pronounce it when I hear it when I repeat it. So for 4 years, right?
Yes.
And Anna has played several roles for Austrian TV series and cinema, such as Wie kommen wir wieder raus?
Yeah. Wie kommen wieder, raus?
Schnell, ermittelt?
Schnell, ermittelt.
And Beasts Like Us.
Yes.
Okay. The fact that the Austrian film industry lacks diversity in front of and behind the camera bothers her. While currently developing her own film project, she wants to address often left out topics such as class struggle, racism, and single mothers. Anna likes combining autobiographical material with fiction and turning it into comedy. Okay. That's cool. All right. So it's going to be a great show today. Now, because you are going to be our first artist, I'd say, on the podcast. So we're going to get into the vibing questions, right? So this is the part of the show where we just vibe and allow listeners to get an idea of your background and your personal interests, right? So Anna, what's your story? Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, my parents are also both artists, but visual artists. My mom is a painter and my dad does like installations, and they met in Germany, and then he moved to Austria. I was born. 6 years later, my sister was born, and but when I was 8, they separated, and he moved back to Thailand. So that was a very life-changing incident because he was suddenly gone and we were writing emails, and I had a very close relationship to him, and also like he was cooking all the time, so he shared his culture with me with food. Yeah,
that must have been a great cuisine. I had some Thai yesterday. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Do you like to cook Thai? Can you cook as well?
I love cooking. Yeah, that's what he gave to me, like the love for food and cooking.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
I'm very spontaneous. I don't plan much, and I also don't do so much like recipes out of cookbooks. It's more like, I'm craving this and that, and I want to combine this with that. So, but I love rice. Like that's also the very Asian part of me. Like I could eat rice 3 times a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry for interrupting you. So you were talking about your father and moving and how that's impacted you. Do you ever go to Thailand?
Only like every 5-6 years. So the last time has been 6 years ago, and but he will move back to Thailand like forever ever because he's 72 now, and he will retire in Thailand. He doesn't want to live in Europe anymore. It's too cold, it's too expensive. Okay. So my sister and I are gonna accompany him to Thailand and leave him there. And,
okay. So how does that make you feel?
It's sad, but also I was always prepared for him to leave because he left when I was 8. Then he came back after 4 years. Then I was 12, and it was kind of strange to he missed a third of my life and 2/3 of my sister's life. So we really had to work on our relationship again. And also I lost Thai as a language. I don't know how, but it just happened. this is also an annoying question because people are always like, oh, so sad. Why don't you speak Thai? Oh, what a pity.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I don't speak Thai, because he left. Like,
Right.
otherwise I wanted to speak Thai fluently.
Oh, okay.
And so we're talking in German, and it's fine for both of us now. Also, his German is pretty good.
Okay.
And we've like rebuilt our relationship.
Okay.
So and I always knew he wasn't 100% happy in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So I always knew like one day he will leave again. And now I'm actually surprised he stayed here for so long. Since I'm 12, he's been here in Europe, so that's a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And how old are you now?
I'm 29.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't look. I don't like to get into this because people talk about what does an age look like. But, but yeah, you look like you're trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. That's also what he like educated me about like health. It's also a very Asian thing. I think also like my whole family is very focused on, like, not everyone, but my aunts at least. They have their rituals, and they do their kaffir lime shampoo, and they eat like papayas every day, and they have their rituals.
Okay. And what is there anything outside of your father that's like within your story, like your family? You say you have a sister. Yeah,
I have a sister. We're also really close, but I was more of a mother to her most of our lives, which I don't want to be anymore. Because it kind of ruins the sister relationship. But like my mom always wanted me to be like the second parent because he wasn't there. That's why I also want to address these topics in my own projects, because they're so often left out. And I see so many patterns in older siblings with single mothers. Like they're in many cases becoming like second parents, and at like very young ages, like at 12. Or even younger. How
do you feel like that has impacted you throughout your life, like through certain
I became very responsible at a very young age. I mean, it's not bad, but it's I feel like it's not as silly and goofy and free as other childhoods or teenage years can be. So I was always very, very responsible.
That's good. All right. Give me one. Let me just.
Is it not good for the sound?
Just speak into the mic real quick.
Should I be closer?
Yes, that's
okay.
Yeah, because
it's better.
We're in Austria right now, so usually I am doing my podcast in England. So we're in a room and there's an echo.
That's not good. Yeah.
But the when you're closer to the mic, that's good.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing some of your stories. Is there anything else you want to like? What about
afterwards?
What about your hobbies? Like what activities you like to do that bring you peace and happiness?
I love cooking. I love surfing. That's my new hobby since 4 years.
Wait.
Is this opening up the door?
Where do you surf in Vienna?
Nowhere.
I'm about to say, okay.
Yeah, nowhere. I'm like saving all my money to do surf trips in Europe. And I did one surf trip outside of Europe that was in Mexico this February. And like I'm very passionate about it. And like I'm very sad when I'm not able to surf like within like 5 months or so. But
wow, so there's nowhere here in Austria that you can surf? Nowhere?
I mean, there's like a river wave in Upper Austria, but I don't know. I've never surfed a river wave. It's totally different. And now in Munich, they're building like this super posh wave pool. So but I don't know. It's about the ocean also. It's not about only that.
So I've never been surfing, but I've always wanted to try. That's cool. So how long have you been surfing?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's too bad because, it's... People tell me the weather here is different to England. But, I mean, there's a bit more sun, but it's still pretty similar. I mean, well, England, there's a lot of gray skies, I'd say. It's more gray skies. Here's a bit more sun, I'd say. Yeah. More sun and shine. But, okay, so surfing, that's cool. Anything else around... So what are your interests around, like, the arts, and what type of creativity do you appreciate as an artist?
I love cinema. I love music. I love dance, photography, theater, and what else? I'm not so much like what's it called? Like a conceptual art person. Like when I walk into modern museums, sometimes I feel lost and I feel like I don't connect as well as other people.
Okay.
So yeah, but with the other ones I just listed before, it's really easy to connect with.
Okay, what do you think, how did that originate? What do you think that came from? Just your interest in art?
I think with film and theater, it's because it's like so close to our lives and us humans, and that's the material, human lives and human, desires, tragedies, frustrations, whatever. Right. And I'm a very sensitive person, so I can connect easily with other people's stories and emotions and conflicts.
Okay. And how long have you, where are you at now within your journey?
I would say I'm in a transitioning phase. Like right now I left the theater behind for a while. So I'm really
and we'll
focused.
Talk about why. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about why. And I'm really focused on film, really, really focused. But also what's super new is I want to create my own projects and tell my own stories and not only be part of other people's stories.
Okay, that's powerful. That's amazing. So within that, could you think of any people who have been influential at different stages of your life? I know you said your father, but maybe anybody else.
You mean artists, for example?
Yes.
Like, I really love the singer Rosalia.
Rosalia?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's Rosalia?
She's a Spanish singer, but really famous.
Okay.
And I really love how she's got this very individual style and expression, and she's also super talented and like plays around with being. I feel like sometimes she can be silly, sometimes she can be very like super philosophical and deep. Okay. So she has a huge range, and I think that's really, really fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And she's just very playful, and you see that she enjoys that.
Okay.
Yeah, and also she's super committed to her work.
Okay. And how long have you been listening or following?
Maybe 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I also went to her concert.
Oh, really? How do you spell that?
Rosalia.
Rosalia, do you know?
Yeah, Rosalia.
Rosalia, okay. Rosalia. And which genre of music is this?
She started off with like contemporary version of flamenco. Okay. And now she's doing like everything. Now she's got more Latin influences, but also more pop influences. Okay. I mean, her range is so big, and some of the stuff she does I don't enjoy as much as others. Okay. So yeah, she's like all over the place, but not random.
Right. Okay. And what about let's get a bit more into your background as far as so you mentioned I'm not aware of these of the TV series, right? Because I'm American, right? And some of our audience we have an international audience. So could you kind of explain maybe something around one of the programs that you've done, the series of cinemas?
The Schnell, ermittelt, for example, is the Austrian TV series. It's very popular, I think, since maybe 2008, something like that. Okay. And the main character is a female investigator, detective. Yeah. Okay. And she's maybe 50 years old already, but like very, very agile and energetic, and also very stubborn. And it's a fun character because you can't really put her into a box, but you like her, although you're sometimes annoyed by her. So it's like I like her character a lot, and she's accompanied by like an older colleague who's not as agile, and so it creates like a comedic dynamic between them. So
And what was your role?
And our episode was about like an Austrian Asian family, like Austrian Chinese actually. Okay. So that's why I got cast, because That's the industry problem. Like,
Okay.
they're like, okay, we need like some sort of Asian actress.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's about actually the grandmother is Austrian, but she studied like Chinese studies, or I don't know how you call it, Sinologie in German.
Okay.
And so she met like a Chinese man, fell in love, they had a child, and I'm her grandchild.
Okay.
So it was actually only my mom, an Asian actor, and me. So it was only two people against like a whole white set.
Okay.
And on our first rehearsal, when we're just reading the script from the tables, we had to listen to like a racial slur that was part of the script. And then we had to discuss that with everyone in the room, and it was the first meeting with everyone, like with the producers, with the director and everything. And it's a very uncomfortable situation to be in when you don't even know the people you're with, and you're like with very famous colleagues next to you. And the first reaction was, yeah, but that's normal. We cannot deny racism, which is true, but you can't also like repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, because it also normalizes racism. When people like watch it as a joke, then they think that's okay to say.
Right. And how old were you at this time? At this stage?
That was 1 year ago.
1 year ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, how did you and your colleague navigate that?
Well, we were persistent, but we tried to be like very friendly and like not to be aggressive. And also another person said, yeah, because there was a joke with the Chinese name Dong, and then there was a stupid joke in the script also, not only the racial slur, I don't want to say out loud, but there was also a joke about dong and ding dong and like the doorbell ding dong, and we were like, why? It's not even funny. It's just disrespectful and discriminating. And then one person was like, yeah, but they made fun of my name too when I was a child. It's normal. And then later she apologized, and I really appreciated that. And also after discussing it, the director also said, okay, no, if it's hurting people, we won't need it. We will cancel that.
Okay, well
so it was successful, but it was still like energy consuming and nerve wracking a bit, but it was successful. And yeah.
And the labor falls back on you and your colleagues.
Yeah, definitely. And at least we were two, but often you're the only one. So that's yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. That's going to get us into the next part, which is our flipping questions, right? So let's flip it, shall we? Now we will get more into how you flip the script to traditional narratives. Yeah. And how you do that within that, right? So I've had a chance to speak with you and view the work you're doing around filmmaking and the industry. So for our Vibe audience and us too, let's flip the filmmaker script, shall we? Yes. So we kind of just discussed about your experiences within that show, right? Was it a show or a movie?
Yeah, it's a show, yeah.
Okay.
Series. TV.
But just overall in general, what are your perceptions of like traditional or normative narratives in your work?
Well, the main characters are always white.
Okay.
And when I'm talking about my theater experience, the main characters were always 50 plus male white. Okay. And the roles that were left for me in the end were like being the nanny.
Okay.
Yeah.
The nanny.
Yeah,
okay.
For example. Yeah, that was my last role actually, being the nanny.
And how'd that make you feel?
Yeah, shitty. Like not validated.
Right.
Like I went to university to study drama, and now I'm like ending up playing the nanny and having a few sentences.
Now, so. do you feel like that is a normative thing for people from your background within the Austrian industry? Filming?
Well, yes and no. It's shifting.
Okay.
I don't think it was because of like racism that I was being the nanny. It was more because I was just a young woman, and the plays are so old, written by like men who lived, I don't know, 100 to 150 years ago. So the main characters are always white, male, and 50 plus. So, and they're also using only the old material because they love it so much, which I don't always understand. Okay. So that's what just left for us young women.
Oh,
Not always, but I feel like, I didn't get many chances to really show what I got.
Okay. And your narratives are very similar to what I'm going to talk about. So there's this article that I read in America. I would say it's very similar to your experience, what we talked about. So the article is entitled Institutional Racism in the Film Industry, a Multi-Level Perspective. And it's from Sophie Hinnecombe and Jawad, I would say Saeed. And they speak about these three overlapping, interconnected levels of institutional racism in the film industry. So they talk about the macro level, the meso level, and the micro level, right? So how do you feel about the macro level? So the macro level is more about the power structure, who are the decision makers, who are the power holders. How would you define that within an Austrian perspective? Who would you consider the people who are in power? Yeah, who are making majority of the decisions when it comes to the work that you do in your industry?
Yeah, I feel it's also 50 plus and white, and maybe there are a few more females, but mostly males.
Okay, and what?
And they're and also with the screenwriters, mostly elderly male, white.
Right, and then what do you think? How do you feel like that influences people like yourself who are trying to navigate that the industry?
Yeah, it influences a lot in a bad way because we end up being cast in very stereotypical roles because their fantasy or their openness is not sufficient to imagine us in like main character roles.
Right. Okay.
For example, in crime series are super popular in the German-speaking
really?
region.
Crime series? Okay.
Crime series.
Do you know why that is, or?
I don't know. I think it's a cultural thing. I think some cultures love and dramedy, stuff like that more. And I feel like German-speaking people like the analytical part of crime.
Okay.
So they can figure out themselves and feel smart about themselves.
Okay.
And
to be honest,
not so much about relationship, but more about like plot and intrigue.
Okay. To be honest, this show called Law and Order Special Victims Unit in America was really good too. Okay, so but the crime series is more German.
Yeah. Okay. And for example, like the main characters, they get like 10 seasons doing that. So the main characters are never BIPOC people.
Right.
Maybe there's 1, 2 in Germany, but not in Austria. In Austria, you're lucky to get like a small role in like a special episode like mine when there's like an Asian focus written by a white man.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And for our audience, BIPOC means Black, Indigenous, People of Color, right?
Yeah.
I typically use the term REM, or resilient majority, resilient minority.
Interesting. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's where I'm trying to push the brand. That's where my research, that's what I'm trying to push. But
resilient minority.
Yeah, or resilient majority.
Yeah, actually, it's the majority, right?
Exactly. That's the point of flipping it, right? Because we tend to say racialized minorities, etc. But technically, we are.
Technically, when you see it globally,
it's a majority. It's a drastic difference, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what we're taught, right?
Yeah, we're in Austria, and then it's a minority.
Exactly. Yeah. So I try to be as what's the word? As critical, but at the same time realistic. Because obviously in Austria, in England, we're the minority, but globally, we're the majority, right? So it's trying to have it two perspectives. But since you were talking about the casting, right, and that gets to the second level, which is the meso level, when it comes to the rules and how you're trained, right? So who is typically casted in certain roles, like some of the bigger TV shows here in Austria? Would you say? Or
Austria is a huge fan of like using the same faces over and over again because they know it's working and because they know who their audience is, like what age, what background, and so they're like catering it to their needs.
Right. And since you've been training, since you were in the arts and going to the theater, how do you feel like that has influenced you since you've been navigating your way in the industry? Like, how do you feel like you've played on certain stereotypes? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Or
I don't think I played on certain stereotypes. Like I got like I never played like, for example, like an Asian stereotype, never. But I know like they're casting me because I'm Asian, like, and sometimes I'm not even Asian enough, and then
how does that make you feel?
I mean it's very ambivalent, because on the one hand I understand you don't want to have like this washed down version when there's like once an Asian character, and then you don't want to take like a washed down version of that. But at the same time, like, is it only about that, or it just feels weird. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. But also I have like privilege in this racist society when I don't look as Asian as my dad, for example. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, because your mother's Austrian, and your father's Thai. Has there ever been, since you keep explaining how it's typically like an Asian role, right? Has there ever been a role where they've asked you to play somebody white?
Yes, it has. It has, but not so many.
Okay.
I mean, more in theater, because in film they're trying to be like so super naturalistic, realistic. So they're like, if you look like that, this can't be your mother.
Okay.
So either you're the adopted daughter, or we're just gonna take an Austrian girl.
Okay.
So I once played the adopted daughter into big comedy movies. This is also the Wie kommen wieder, raus. I was the adopted daughter. But I mean, it didn't play a big role that I was Asian. Maybe there were like 1-2 sentences about it, but it didn't play a big role. I was also not a huge stereotype. Like I was, I kind of felt comfortable with it, but also I thought, okay, so I can only play the adopted daughter or the Asian, like, but I mean, it's changing.
Okay.
But I feel like the majority of the castings I had were because of Asian type.
Okay.
Because they were looking for an Asian type. Majority, not always. Sometimes they also say like any BIPOC background. Sometimes it's also just a white character. For example, I'm doing another episode for another crime series called Sokolins, and there I'm just an athlete. She's got an Austrian name. It doesn't say anything. This is just a normal white character. Yeah.
And that's interesting. I never thought about it as far as from both sides. It's because you have because what do you identify yourself as? Because I remember we had a conversation about this, right? Do you see yourself as, some people with your multi-ethnicity consider themselves dual ancestry, mixed race. Some people just prefer to say, no, I am this, which is one side. Like, I'm Thai, that's it. Or if someone's mixed race, I'm mixed race black, or no, I'm black. So how do you identify yourself?
For me, person of color is good for me, but also dual heritage, or what did you say? No, dual ancestry.
Yeah, or dual heritage.
I've never used that, but it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's dual in a way. Because some people don't like the term half Asian, half European. I don't mind, actually. Sometimes I feel like half, although it's maybe more 70-30 or... like,
70-30.
From a cultural perspective, I'm not so submerged in Thai culture. I have an insight, but I don't feel super part of that.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't feel super part of your Thai culture.
Yeah.
So this goes back to the story. I should ask you this earlier, but when it comes to like growing up in Vienna, how were you perceived?
Depends on the person.
Okay.
But most of the people, they can't really locate my background, but most of them would say, there's something Asian about you.
Okay, so that you're
I'm
mysterious
like scanned.
to people. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like scanned, and people are like, maybe Asian.
Okay.
I knew it. There was something Asian about you. Yeah,
okay.
That's normal.
And
but some people are like, I would have never thought. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it the same for your sister as well, or?
Yeah, but I think she's recognized as more as Asian as I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's going to lead us to like the last level. So we talk about the micro level. So now, could you share a particular moment that you consider a turning point in your career? Because the micro level is more around personal agency and what you've done on a personal level, right? When do you consider the turning point?
The first turning point was end of university, where we had to do like our own project as a diploma, and I was really scared of that challenge, like doing your own thing after 4 years of just doing scenes and scenes and scenes. But I really wanted to do this, and that was the first time I was working with autobiographical material and talking about my childhood, growing up with a hoarder mom, growing up with 2 cultures, growing up with a single mom, growing up with an absent dad, growing up with money and financial struggles. And that was the first time I did that, and it was a very strengthening experience for me, because I was so scared, and it turned out well. And I felt people could relate to my story, although they had so different backgrounds than I did. I mean, most of them were like upper middle class children, because most of the art people have that background, because it's too risky.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how is the population within the arts industry when it comes to like identity, when it comes to class, race?
It's a huge class thing, actually. Like doing like drama, you have to have like parents who believe in you, parents who give you money to afford all the risk that is like, that you're taking. So, and also many people from other backgrounds, they have parents who say like, no, you're going to end up poor on the streets. And it's too risky. So, but I was aware of that risk, and I knew my parents somehow managed to, although I was angry at them when I was a child. Like, why are you artists? Like, why don't you make any proper money? Yeah.
Okay. And they who supported you the most, you'd say, throughout your...
My mom and my grandmother, my Austrian grandmother, because my dad, he didn't have any money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when we talk about...
And also the Austrian government, like you get like it's not a scholarship, but it's called similar, when you have like certain degrees and your parents can't pay enough for your studies, then you get like an amount.
Okay, so do you think how do you feel the Austrian government is supportive when it comes to people from certain backgrounds in certain instances like yours?
Yeah, it's definitely better than in the US, but it's not enough.
Yes, okay.
Because like there's so much wealth in this country, and it's not distributed at all, and they're trying to shorten everything. And they're angry at people who are poor. But also they're like profiting from them. So it's so much better than in other countries, definitely. But I heard they could do better.
But I heard it's shifting again. It's shifting back to more of a right.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
It's like Trump has helped. I mean, I don't know, just sparked it everywhere, right?
I feel also Trump has inspired many politicians.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really sad.
Okay. Do you think or do you follow politics in America, or the election at all, or not?
A bit, like not in depth, but like it's not. It's definitely important what's going on there. Yeah.
But Trump just recently was convicted of.
A certain amount of counts.
And he's leading the polls.
Yes, so, I know. Yeah, I know.
But this is what I always tell people, right?
Yeah.
This is what I tell people with Trump. So it's...
Yeah.
It's like, it's more of like, if... It kind of shows where we're at. Because people, we don't want... But I mean, if he was elected, that shows where we're at. So it's kind of like, I'd rather know rather than it be a facade, right? If that makes sense, and be something where we think, where we act like something's there, but we're not, if that makes sense. So kind of like with Joe Biden, like, we won't get into Joe Biden, but I mean, but that's what I mean. Like, so it's more about, at least we know where he stands. Yeah. At least we know. Yeah. And since he is elected, we know that more work needs to be done because he had to be voted in, or people, you know what I'm saying? So, so it's one of those things where at least it shows where we're at.
Yeah, it's really bad. Right? It's really scary because facts don't matter, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay. Well, enough of that politics. But yeah. Okay. But thank you for your response to that. But how do you feel your artistry and your activism is flipping the script within your personal?
Well, when I play a character, I try really to do my best not to enhance any, like, I try to cancel all the sexist, racist, classist stuff,
Right.
because you really have to read scripts very critically, because there's so much bullshit written down and you have to fight against it, discuss it with the director. So I'm trying to do that.
Right.
And most of the times it works out. And as an aspiring screenwriter or filmmaker, I really want to focus on, often left out topics that are very close to me. Like
your current project now, if you want to kind of highlight that.
Yes, it's called Chaos. It's a working title at the moment, and I pitched it at the Diagonale at the Austrian Film Festival. And I got a production company who's now supporting me. They're not saying like, we're doing this, but they're like supporting me on the way to like prove myself to be like capable of doing this, because I mean it's my first project, so it's kind of difficult to like.
Yeah, how do you feel about it? It's your first project, your big project? How does that feel like?
It's super exciting. I feel like this is the second big turning point in my life. The first one was my first project at university, and now this is my second big turning point, like 6 years later, where I'm like, okay, no, I want to tell my own stories, and I want to talk about being poor in an upper middle class environment like I was as a child and as a teenager, and all that struggle with keeping up and pretending not to be as poor, or like studying like the social cues and details of the upper middle class and trying to imitate that. So that was a huge struggle as a teenager. And having like the hoarder mom at home and being poor and messy is like a really bad combination to like make new friends who are like very wealthy, and you also want to invite them, but you feel so ashamed. Like I felt so ashamed of inviting them. So I want to talk about that a lot.
Okay, is your mother still? Who do you live with now?
I'm by myself. I'm living by
yourself.
myself. Yeah.
Okay.
But she's gotten so much better. Yeah, she's doing a lot of progress. Like I couldn't use her apartment to film my film actually, because it's not as messy. It's it's not messy enough. It's like a clean version of 15 years ago.
Okay, so I was going to ask, what stages are you at with your film right now?
Right now I'm in the developing process of like I've written 2 scenes only, and the rest is just like concept, story, log line, character analysis, all that pre-work. Okay. Which is a lot.
Okay, I was saying if you can dive so
because it doesn't make any sense like doing everything, because I also want to try to get some fundings or mentoring programs or some kind of scholarships. So I'm trying to like work my way up, which is really hard because the competition is fierce. I didn't go to film school, so I have my acting background, but that's not enough. So yeah, I really have to prove myself now. Yeah.
And how long do you feel like it's going to take for you to get it up and going, to
really shoot the feature film? Yeah, maybe a few years.
Okay.
Because first I have to do a short film, because if not, nobody else will trust my skills, and also I don't know how it's gonna turn out. Like I have to find out myself. Okay. But I enjoy writing scenes, and I enjoy conflicts and awkwardness in relationships.
Okay.
And not in my own life, but looking back or using it in my creative work.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to explain within what you're doing now? Can you give us a bit more detail about the story? About the story, yes.
Okay, so it's about an 11-year-old girl coming to entering middle school, and she's confronted with only upper middle class students with their wealthy parents and very successful parents, and she's very ashamed of inviting them to her home because her mom is a hoarder. They don't have enough money, and she does not want to show all that background. She wants to hide her background. And this is actually very tragic, but I want to turn it into a comedy because I think the best comedies are made of tragic material and of desperation and struggle. Okay. And also the perspective of the 11-year-old child is like somehow in between, like having very grown-up thoughts but also having very childlike thoughts. And I think it's very pure because in puberty things get kind of mixed up and it's only about it's about other things maybe. But as an 11-year-old, actually normally you wouldn't care about these things. If you had, for example, wealthy middle-class parents, I don't think people would care so much of like how their kitchen would look like because they're already upper middle class. But she would care so much about every detail, and she would go to IKEA and like try to make her home look better, and she does a lot of like tidying up, and she does a lot of like secretive throwing away stuff of her mom, and then they like fight. And it's also about her dad returning after 4 years and being confronted actually with her Thai identity. She also denied because she knew that wasn't any advantage of her in this racist society. And that's a process. Also, there's the process with the mom, and there's the process with the poverty, and then there's the process with the Thai identity. And I eventually I want her to like embrace her Thai identity and see also that other friends are struggling extremely under the pressure their parents are putting on them. But I don't want to end it like in a very romantic way. It's just more like stop denying or stop constantly assimilating, but still the wish of being wealthy, and I don't mean super rich by that, and the goal, I want to be wealthy one day, that's still persistent, like because life is just better with money. And I don't mean like being rich. I just mean like not having to worry about, is this product in the supermarket too expensive for me or not? I mean like really filling basic needs and being able to go on vacation and being able to buy food that's nice and clothes that you like and doing sports and playing an instrument, which is all not affordable for people struggling with money.
So like the basic needs.
Yeah, exactly.
The hint of like some fun. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And then also, thank you for sharing that. I'm looking forward to whenever that's done. We'll get you back on the show when it is, right? Or maybe even before that, right? And there's also one other thing that the greenhouse? Gewächshaus, right? So you're part of Gewächshaus a bit. You want to I'm going to talk about, so Gewächshaus means greenhouse, right? And it's a network by and for BIPOC filmmakers in German-speaking countries. Their goal is to promote diversity both in front of and behind the camera to bring their stories into the mainstream, right? So it's also a place for the community building, networking, empowerment, education, and discourse. They also offer advice on diversity storytelling. They are structurally transforming the film industry through, I would say, collaborative practices. Could you kind of explain your role within that?
So I don't work for Gewächshaus, but for example, they selected my project. I submitted the film I'm talking about for this pitch at the Diagonale, and that was organized by the Gewächshaus. That was hosted by Gewächshaus in cooperation with the Diagonale. So I was a participant, or I don't know, a selected participant for that. And also I try to like engage a lot with the people around and with Gewächshaus. So I try to like go to their workshops and their events, and it's such a great initiative. Like I was like, wow, this is existing in Austria. Like I was so overwhelmed. I was so happy to like see, oh, there's actually something happening in Austria.
Wow, okay.
And yeah, I think it's like, yeah, so great. And they're also very well connected in the industry, and this helps us so much, like having the connection to them, because they're well connected. Because otherwise it's so hard to build up a network, I feel. So if you lost, and there's so many children having like famous parents who are in the film industry, and of course it's very easy for them. Like,
right. Okay. Yeah. So if you're in Austria, Gewächshaus, it's definitely something to look into, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right. Now we're gonna get to the concluding part of the show, and we're now at the concluding part, and where Anna will offer us insight around rehumanization. Okay. So if you could reflect on your journey thus far, what do you know now that you wish you knew before?
I feel I was assimilating too much in my life. And I feel that's making me sad, because, I was like denying parts of myself that could have like, shown. Yeah. And
that goes back to your film.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But why do you think that is? Why do you feel like you assimilated within your
experience? Because of power structures, because of the system we're living in. Like, it's considered worthless when you're poor, or when you have like a migration background, or being or having like a messy mom. And it's also in our society it's just about being successful and rich and white too.
Okay. And how did you transform that again, if you want to?
Well, I feel like it's always a struggle, but I feel like I can embrace it more and more and more, and I come into a different kind of strength that I lacked when I was assimilating.
Okay.
So.
And what type of strength do you think that is?
It's about being like celebrating more like my Thai heritage, Thai food, having like different view because of two cultural backgrounds. I think it brings a lot of openness and flexibility in your thoughts.
Right.
And I feel like also being more extroverted, I feel like all this assimilation made me very shy and
reserved a bit.
cautious and preserved, and and also people pleasing and all that.
Okay. And
I wish I could have dropped that a bit earlier.
You wish? Okay. But it's I mean, it's good. It's promising to hear that you've kind of challenged that and have navigated your own path in a different way, right? But I guess we have to go through certain things to understand. I don't know, but that's part of what rehumanization is, right? And that gets us to the last question. What does rehumanization look like to you?
First of all, it's actively fighting against your own prejudices you have against other people.
Okay. Well, okay.
Because it really takes away so much from them and their story and their identity. But we cannot deny that we don't have any prejudices. It's bad, but like actively working against them and seeing, okay, it's different than I thought in the first place. And treating people with respect. I feel like especially in theater and film sets, there's a lack of respect in so many situations I've been in and seen, and there are so strict hierarchies, and sometimes the tone is just not good. Okay. And I feel like that is like the basic human decency. I mean,
I love how you said that, the first part you said about not removing your prejudices towards other people, right? That's a big way of flipping the script. So how Do you feel like that's something you did that you had to do within
Yeah, I'm trying to actively do that because
Okay.
prejudice pops up, and I'm trying to like.
How do you do that? How do you feel like you do that?
Yeah, counter thoughts, or also like staying open and curious about that person, not like closing down, putting them in a box.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's really good because part of the work I do is around looking at the self, and when you love yourself, you have the ability to look at people from a different perspective, right? And what we tend to do is we tend to become judgmental bullies because of our own insecurities, right? And that's something that I had to go through, especially with through certain journeys of my own, right? I explained this in episode 1 if people want to tune in, right? Just about my homophobia and how where that stem from.
Yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
Where that stem from and how, I don't know, it's just about, sometimes we think we love ourselves, but sometimes there's a difference between love and like, confidence. I don't know the term to say, but yeah. So the whole point of rehumanization for people, for you, just the audience of you, is just about understanding. We talked about the structure today and how that influences our perceptions. So, and we're all impacted by it, right? So that's why I say rehumanization, because in my theoretical argument is that we have all at some point in time been dehumanized by the structure,
definitely,
right?
And have dehumanized other people too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of like what you just said about how not looking at people through a certain lens, right? And being open and honest and curious. And the whole point is that we all must rehumanize in order to move forward, right? Rather than saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. Well, look at the self first, and then we're able to work collaboratively together. Yeah,
and not creating like status differences between people. Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, thank you for that. That was a great. That was cool. Like I like that because that's part of the work that I do, but that's something that was different as well. It's interesting how people have certain definitions around it. That was a really good one. Thank you so much. Everyone's been great with that answer. It takes a lot of thought, doesn't it? Like just to think about it. Because I
could like come up with other like answers.
Yeah, that's because it's a.
I had also a list on my phone.
Because it's a process. So it's anything that's about like drawing love and people working together, etc. So
and it's like many small parts also. Like,
exactly. So
it's not one grand gesture.
Exactly.
Like
so
details.
It's a journey. But thank you for that. And
thank you.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you wanted to share that you haven't shared yet?
No.
No. Okay. Do you have any social media handles or platforms that people can follow you on?
I've got Instagram. It's or do you say period?
At.
But it's the...
We say at.
You say at?
Yeah. I think,
at?
No, we just say at. I mean, you could say, okay, what do y'all say? What do you say?
Or you mean the...
The at, yeah. At?
No, I don't mean the at.
Oh, what do you mean?
It's my Instagram is a.laminat.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And it's just a period sign. Do you say
Okay.
dot or period?
Oh, yeah. You can, dot? Or
a.laminat.
Laminat. Okay.
Yeah.
A.laminat.
Yeah.
And I'll
And
post
laminat is German. It means like this cheap plastic floor.
Okay.
And it's just like an Austrian uncle was like, laminat. So it was just like a fun nickname because
you learn something new
it's
every
similar
day.
to my last name, but
Okay.
no, I liked it though.
That's
it
cool.
because it's trashy somehow.
No. That's cool. Okay, I remember that. But I'll put it in the description as well for you. But thank you. Anything else that you
No.
have to say? All
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
Thank you so
coming. I
much.
really appreciate you being here. It's been an amazing talk. Thank you for helping us rehumanize on the industry and the arts and filmmaking. And I'm excited to see your journey in the next couple months, in the next few years or so. We'll definitely get back. You'll be back on here. We'll talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Wow. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, listeners, our Vibe audience, for tuning in. Just some reflections on Anna and I's conversation. I think one of the main things that came out, one word for me, is inspiring. Hearing Anna's story and how she's using her lived experiences to navigate and create a film project. And it's been good to just kind of talk about the arts and the film industry, because I've never really had a conversation about that. I never really looked into that before. And it's been really good to get Anna's take within Austria and how it's very similar to, let's say in England or American perspective, right? And I think that's very important. And I think today, rehumanizing when she spoke about not having prejudices towards other people. So again, it's about looking at thyself and what can you do in order to enhance the human experience and become better for not just for yourself and for others, right? And it's about that love, championing love. And her story, like I said, is very inspiring. And I want people today, whoever's listening, whoever tuned in, to just really reflect on what their agency is and how they can transform wherever they are in their career, transform traditional narratives and move forward and work collaboratively in a rehumanizing way, right? And but thank you for tuning in. One love.